Rossi, will Damage Control be any more interesting now that they are on Monday Night Raw?
I think if you get these titles off of them, maybe, because then you can kind of watch them do some singles matches, which I think you'd be, at this point, maybe better suited.
All right, is my sentiment off that they're kind of stale?
They need something. They definitely need something. I mean, putting 4 of them together on Raw when they really only have babyface Becky and babyface Lyra. I mean, obviously there's some lower level ones too, but I don't expect some of them to come up quick. Like Maxine and stuff, but it kind of feels like they're probably going to split them in some degree, you know?
All right, so we're going to talk about the other pair after, but let's talk Damage Control right now. If you were to pick one of these 4 women to veer off into a singles push, who would it be?
Io. And it's not saying that I don't think that she just had the singles push, but I feel like she'd be better suited. I guess Kyrie fits too. But I think that her and Asuka have like the long tie together. I think Io is the one that has the babyface run in her if they wanted to go that route, you know?
Yeah, I would just worry about really any of these women's to kind of
long term,
connect as a babyface to the overall masses alone. That's where they kind of lack a little bit. Where Bayley was so pivotal to them, they kind of feel aimlessly just because. I don't know if there's any. I guess Dakota could be the leader, but it'd be the mouthpiece leader, so to speak. But I don't know. I like Damage Control as a whole. I think there's definitely equity in them going to Raw. I just feel like they're a little dull right now. I know, of course, they're coming off the big Mania loss for all of them, really. So they're kind of spinning their wheels a little bit, but I feel like a shakeup could be needed for them.
Yeah, and the one thing I think about with them, too, is, I don't expect Julia to be in NXT forever. Maybe 6 months or so. And obviously her coming up and working with this Raw roster will make a lot of sense because like I was saying, they're kind of top heavy on the heels. And then if she comes in to help somebody against these guys or even, be with them, I guess, if one of them breaks off, that could be a good way to intro her and have her looking comfortable,
When she's up, I don't even know if this Damage Control will be together.
Really. No, you're right. That's what I mean. It's like you almost kind of want
but
you want to keep them on some sort of level so that would kind of work. I mean, we're still probably, I wouldn't expect that to like the Mania build next year,
I tend to like the Kabuki Warriors better than Damage Control as a whole, but that's who we're here to talk about. And they're facing Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, who teamed up with Naomi at WrestleMania in a fine 6-woman tag. But I feel that this one could be a sleeper. This is a kind of an uninteresting card, so to speak, as a whole. If you were to turn in like a parlay here on who should win each match on this card, I feel pretty confident you would hit all 5, with all of them being mostly heavy favorites, and the Belair and Cargill team being the favorites in this match, as everyone should suspect, just plainly based off the bill. But what do you think of these two as a whole? I like them being tag champs right here. I worry a little bit, but then they're kind of too big for tag team championships as a whole. But I feel that it's a good starting point for Cargill and a transition for Belair too.
Yeah, I do like it because when you look at this SmackDown roster post-draft, you've got Nia, who's coming over with probably the most equity she's had in her entire time in WWE. Even though she's been losing matches, she's kind of been positioned well, right? And obviously, her and Jade would make sense at some point. But then looking at the rest of that women's roster, you got Stratton, who is obviously getting pushed heavy. You've got Naomi, who's always going to never be at the top, but she'll be kind of in that middle.
Good gatekeeper.
And then you got somebody like Davenport, who I feel like they're gonna kind of give her, make her look good out of the gate. You know what I mean?
Candice and Indy coming in too, who I think they want to invest in.
And that's the thing too, is obviously like Io and I'm sorry, they can send Damage Control back to Raw without the titles, and then they've kind of got the ready-made teams for Bianca and Jade. With, who do you have besides? There was a couple of them. You've got.
On the Raw side,
Candice and Indy. No, I'm talking SmackDown. Candice and Indy, Chelsea and Piper. Depending on what Piper does. Chelsea does an NXT, right? But those are two heel teams.
Sonya returning somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, those are two heel teams. And you're probably Sonya, Alexa. Those are names that are probably not far away either. So it'll be interesting because like Nia, I would eventually probably assume Nia gets herself a tag partner, and maybe they end up in a kind of a big feud with these guys, and then that could be what turns Jade and Nia into their own program.
Tamina's lingering somewhere, and they've been there, done that. So
Honestly, Sonya coming back and teaming with Nia might make sense.
they always seem to be like moving parts in this women's tag team division. You'd be like, all right, who's not doing anything? Let's throw them together for a few months and see if it sticks. So
Right.
that's kind of the problem with this tag division. And mind you, whoever is the women's tag team champions can float over to NXT, float over to Raw, and do some interesting stuff there too. You have Tegan too. Did you mention Tegan on SmackDown too as well? So see how she's kind of aimlessly. I feel like she lacks in the character department, but she has a good hand, and she's could be interested in the right slot.
Tegan and Mia both kind of Mia Yim kind of fit that same mold. That they're there if you need them to do something, but also if they're not on TV for a month, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? And there's those are two that I could see kind of having like Mia was in NXT this week. Like those are two that I could see them kind of floating back and forth from NXT too.
Yeah, it's a good spot. It's a good spot. But I like it. I like the women's tag titles as a float because you can go to the other brand and just do stuff because you can just show up because you're the tag champ and you can get like in little tussles, whatever, and set up future stuff or whatever. Because ultimately, I think the next WrestleMania women's main event is either Bianca and Charlotte or Bianca and Rhea. I think that has main event written all over it. Like one main event.
With Jade possibly getting the other one. Who's not in that match?
Yeah, perhaps I'd have to see it once the bell rings.
Well, I could see. Yeah, I mean, I could see like a Jade
in their mind. I think they would love that.
Yeah, I could see a Jade and a Charlotte and like non-title type match too. I mean, just to kind of be the first way to like really test her.
Yeah, but you also have Charlotte coming back
on
SmackDown because of Andrade's on SmackDown, so that's like a red herring right there. So there's a lot of possibilities. I like the women's divisions after the shakeup. I think they did a better job equaling it out on the women's side than the men's side. But here's the thing: Monday Night Raw on the men's side should be, amplified on that work rate side as it's 3 hours, and they really want to put an apostrophe on those 3 hours on the wrestling show because they want to fill that. So that makes a lot more sense.
Plus, I think you're going to start to see them shifting from SmackDown being the A show to Raw as we move towards the end of the year with the Netflix build too. So
yeah, good call. Good call there for sure. That's sure. But Mike, this is kind of an inconsequential match, but it's a necessary match, so to speak, to kind of get you there. I think that just don't get cute.
Yeah.
Have
it's
the
important.
Warriors. Though. Yeah, it's important. Have the Kabuki Warriors do the job. Make sure Bianca and Jade look good and move on.
You've got 5 matches on the show right now, and I can't really see much more getting added unless they do a fuck finish with that Street Profits match. But they don't tend to do that. They kind of like to leave a title match on SmackDown because it's in the same building. So on a 5-match show, you're not going to have a 6-minute squash. I think you're going to have to show some work, whether it's, Bianca working heavy and Jade getting the hard tag. This is probably a good spot to extend Jade a little bit. These guys work together on the tour, the house show tours. I don't think they were in the States where a lot of the roster was in Europe. So I think it'll be a good opportunity for them to do one of those house show type matches where Jade's got to sell a little bit and kind of give her that adversity to see how she reacts. And, what will be a big match for her because it's going to be the first time that I feel like she's going to be put in a position where there's going to be some adversity and she's not going to just, spot finish. You know what I mean? So she's going to have that hot tag to get herself into this match, but then hopefully she sells a little bit and we kind of can see that side of her evolution, we'll say.
Yeah, she's getting the support and the star power and the staple with Bianca as a partner. And across from her, Asuka's the absolute best foil for her to succeed in that role. I'm looking forward to it. I think the bar is kind of so low that they could actually go out there and hit a solid double and it work.
Yeah, this feels like one of those shows that WWE is really good at when the show doesn't have a lot of hype, over delivering. And this show really doesn't have a lot of hype. So normally for these B WWE shows, those are the ones that you look at and you're like, all right, this one's probably going to end up being really good, when I might not be overly excited to watch it at 1 p.m. on Saturday. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Look at Backlash last year. You know, you had absolute bangers, two or three of them really.
Right.
So
Right.
the girls are in a good spot here. And I'm glad that there are 2 women matches on this card. And I think Bianca and Jade winning here instead of a WrestleMania actually kind of works a little bit more, where there's a more of a showcase and less clutter, and they're not necessarily going to be forgotten about, and it'd be made much bigger deal. Even though winning at WrestleMania would have been a huge deal, but winning here at Backlash kind of works in a different way, but as a whole also works maybe a little bit more.
Timing works out with the draft, and then damage control going the other way. So it's a good time to do the split and then end this feud at the same time.
Yep. Both, and mind you, both girls, Bianca and Jade, were the first round pick for SmackDown each night, Raw and SmackDown. So
yeah, I think that's a precursor for not only this win, but this being probably a big money feud for them when they eventually split, which probably in the fall, you know?
Yeah, cool. All right, Rossi, we're heading out of here. We did these women's justice. It's going to be low-key good, I think.
I think so. I mean, I don't think anything that Asuka and Kyrie are in when they're making other people look good is ever bad, you know? So
yeah, for sure. All right, Mike, we'll catch you on the next one, buddy.
later, guys.